Hey guys, David Vonderhaar, your Lord and Savior, here to tell you about our latest patch to Black Ops 3. We've listened to the community here at Treyarch, and the biggest change in this patch are the score streaks. For all streaks, the ability to lock on during the time it enters the battle space was removed, which allows them to stay up in the air longer than a Russian jet in Egypt. We've increased the health and evasiveness of most streaks, including the Mothership, which takes a full 6-pack of rockets instead of everything in your black cell you always run around with to ruin everyone else's fun. The UAV, counter-UAV, Wraith, GI unit wraps, and Cerberus, although the latter is still as stupid as Forrest Gump when it comes to actually being lethal. We also buffed the damage output on the Mothership wraps and the Talon's AI control damage, but still nothing about when that little fucker accidentally shoots you who called it in. The HCXD will now kill anyone, even with Flak Jacket on, thus rendering the perk useless against shit kids that just want to play a racing game inside of a shooter. Same with the Dart and players that want to play a flight simulator. The Lightning Strike now takes 2.4 seconds instead of 4.0 seconds to deploy after playing Battleship on your tablet, which is more in line with your masturbation time. The Rolling Thunder is now more like the bombing run from Advanced Warfare in terms of both area and effect and the ability to blow people up that are completely underneath cover. What a joy that is. And apparently the Hellstorm missile was also buffed, but it's still as potent as the Broncos offense at this moment. Speaking of score streaks, we patched a bug where the Sentry Gun screen effect would remain when not controlling it. Hey, at least it's not the colors of the Virtual Boy. Other bugs include several map exploits, including one on Nuketown, which I don't know how it got in there despite the map being in 2 previous Call of Duty titles. Speaking of things that weren't problems in previous games, we made some more patches to crypto key farmers and gun game, even though the solution has already been implemented in prior games and we refuse to acknowledge that it's the right way to do it. While we're on the subject of gun game, we also fixed spawns in both that and free-for-all because clearly those are the only game modes which spawns are messed up in. And not, let's say, domination at the start of a second round. Another feature missing from Black Ops 3 that was on launch in Black Ops 2 was a quick join menu, which is amazingly annoying on the Xbox One, where people can stalk you without adding them as a friend and without even knowing that they're watching you like a police song. We added a bunch of new levels for those people that haven't seen the amazing graphics of what we like to call outdoors. We've added levels past Prestige Master 55 all the way up to 1,000. As you rank up each 100 levels, you get to choose prestige icons from previous Treyarch titles. If each level is 55,000 XP, as it's stated from 55 to 56, and it does not increase, which isn't likely, that's 945 levels at 55,000 XP, or a total of 51,975,000 XP. If you average 10,000 XP per game, which is kind of a stretch given how shitty you play, that's 5,200 games. If there's an average of 10 minutes per game, that's 867 hours or 36 days that it'll take you to get all the way up to level 1000. That'll hold over you social degenerates until our Awakening DLC drops in February or March sometime of next year. In line with leveling up, let's talk changes to Arena mode. When you're Masters rank, we're adding a power rating, kind of like how pundits assign random numbers to sports teams. We added harsher penalties for leaving before the end of match or during the period by which even the Adderall-infused professionals are barely sitting through, where the rules are laid out for the match. If you make like Tigger and bounce, your game will count as a loss and you lose a precious gold star, which is exactly how badly behaved children are treated in elementary school. No, Timmy, not everyone gets a gold star. Fuck your self-esteem. Piggybacking on Arena changes, we had our half-baked Codcaster feature exposed during the first MLG Twitch stream, which saw an almost laughable 50,000 concurrent, considering CSGO gets a few 100,000 for an actual competitive shooter game. We fixed some coloring issues with respect to both the kill feed, which isn't just important to the sniping community apparently, death icons, and the minimap. We also had incorrect displays when the round win or game win screens were showing the winning team name, and it's no longer affected by EMP grenades, which turned our casters into Stevie Wonder, and no, not while he was catching the falling mic stand. Speaking of esports, we did some perk and weapon tweaking right before the Call of Duty World League qualifiers, so excellent timing for upending the metagame. Overclock was buffed to increase your specialist earn time to offset us decreasing it in objective game modes, although it's still the most useless perk in that slot. Anti-up gives you 100 points towards your now buff streaks instead of 75 when spawning in like every other Call of Duty game since Modern Warfare 2. Hardwired is also now more effective against 6th Sense, thus promoting camping playstyle over rushing style since our game does that anyway with head glitches every 10 steps. On to the attachments, we buffed the range on the suppressor much to the delight of T. Martin, but he's super excited about everything anyways. We increased the hipfire accuracy for assault rifles and LMGs using the laser sight, even though the hipfire in this game is easier than Rambo in a jungle. Fast mags is now not Adam Sandler's at a medium pace mags, and rapid fire will do what it's actually supposed to by increasing the fire rate for burst weapons, not the actual burst delay. Dual wield has been nerfed to reduce movement and swap speed because if you need 2 guns at once in this game, you're shit anyways. We also nerfed the concussion grenade to only stun you and your kids, not 5 generations of players as it was before. Finally, onto the weapons themselves, buffs were handed out to the Razorback ARM-262, Brecky, and Haymaker 12 in the form of a range increase, so now they're more viable from a llama spitting distance. Recoil was made easier on the Kudo, weagal, KN-44, HVK-30, Man-O-War, Dingo, and ICR-1, even though most of those guns, especially the ICR, don't have any recoil to begin with. Movement speed was reduced on the XR2 and increased on the Dingo and the pistols, as if they needed to be any easier to use. Thankfully, the RK-5 and LCAR-9 got nerfs to range for both, and damage in the case of LCAR. We never learned from that Cap 40, I guess. The 48 Dredge and the M8A7 had a fire rate decrease, even though the M8A7 had its fire rate increase in the last hotfix. We're just making changes for the sake of making changes. Job security, people. Oh, and the VMP and Vesper also got slight nerfs, so people won't cry about them as much, even though I know what I'm doing with SMGs. Remember the MP40? Speaking of weapons, we added 3 new melee weapons which you can get through the black market, and unlike in Advanced Warfare, these variants aren't more powerful than the base weapons. Or so we think until someone figures out the melee speed differences. So many YouTubers make a fuss over knives in CSGO, so we're going to add a butterfly knife into our game instead of understanding why they're fussing. It's because they're actually worth real money because there's a fully fleshed out trading system, unlike we have in Call of Duty. And it's not just because they look cool. Oh, and just like in Advanced Warfare, we're going to add anachronistic weapons into a futuristic shooter, like a set of brass knuckles since it's an easy port over from zombies, and a wrench, since we've been playing a lot of Clue at the office instead of doing patch testing and actually fully implementing core functionality. Which brings me to custom games. That brings me to custom games in theater mode. Instead of having these features fully fleshed out on launch, we decided, like every other development studio, to patch it in later on, even though we had 3 years of development. You can now actually save custom game settings and edited clips in the file share. We also made Black Ops 3's theater mode almost on par with the original Invocation 6 years ago by adding dolly cam screenshots and the ability to lock onto equipment as well as players. Wait, what? Now people can't even access films at all? Well, shit. How do we put these features in only to have people not be able to actually access it to use it? We gotta stay employed somehow, right? Oh, and before I forget, I desperately need to either buy a new razor or hire a personal trainer, so we've added a new microtransaction system called COD points, which, again, were something in our game 6 years ago, but we're tacking on later. Following the extremely successful advanced supply drops in Advanced Warfare, which caused it to generate more revenue than Ghost despite lower game sales, we're adding in a similar system for both the black market and for zombies with Dr. Monty's Factory. Considering that there's now 3 different forms of currency involved, actual dollars turns into COD points, which turn into either crypto keys or liquid divinium, which turns into items. Who knows how much the packs will actually be worth? You can also use the COD points to buy additional Black Ops 3 content, including extra slot packs, which means that prestiging is now almost useless since you could just buy the extra classes anyways. Oh, but don't worry, this isn't a pay-to-win scenario, even though having more class slots means you could plan for all sorts of different types of cheese, but it won't actually make you win gunfights. Also, everything in the supply drops are cosmetic. We swear. Unless you're playing zombies where you get perks to help you out. But you're not playing against players in that mode, only zombies, and they don't care about you forking over money to get to a higher round, but other people on the leaderboards might.